Hey guys, it's Alika. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be doing an everyday makeup tutorial. So I'm going to be showing you guys how to go from this to this. So you guys have probably heard this a bunch of times, but one of the most important steps about makeup is skin prep, and I already have my skincare done, but my big tips are milky toners, a good hydrating moisturizer, and a really good sunscreen that lays well underneath makeup. So next, after skin prep, we're gonna do primer. So we're gonna use this NYX the Face Glue Primer. This stuff is amazing. I really suggest this. Like, all the products, or at least most of the products that I use in this video, I really suggest. Also, if you just seen something in my nose, that wasn't a booger. It was my nose ring. But anyway, I'm just going to put this all over my face, and I'm going to try to avoid my brows because it kind of makes the application process for a brow pencil a bit harder to go on when you have primer in your eyebrows. So I'm going to really try to not get it in my eyebrows. Alright, now for brows, I'm just going to brush it out using the end of this e.l.f. Instant Lift Brow Pencil. And I think this is in the shade, Taupe. And I'm just going to go on the very front of my eyebrows and create a line at the bottom. And what I do to kind of even it out is I just brush the product through with the spoolie, but I don't go on the top of the brows because I find that makes my eyebrows kind of look blocky and muddy. And I'm just going to go right here because I have an eyebrow slit that's regrowing kind of awkwardly. But I just do the front until I like how it looks, and it's okay if it's a little messy because we're going to clean it up with concealer. Next is brow gel, so we can either use the Kosas brow gel or the Benefit brow gel. Today I'm going to go in with the Kosas one, and I'm just going to lightly brush it through my eyebrows. Not doing anything special, just don't stick them straight up. Or you can if you want, do whatever you want, but me personally, I don't like the look of that, so I'm just brushing them kind of, Next, it is time for probably one of the best parts of doing my makeup, which is carving my eyebrows. It's only the best part if I don't mess it up. But I'm using this Huda Beauty Faux Filter Concealer. This concealer is one of the best concealers ever created, and what I'm doing is I'm going in with this very old Sephora brush, and it's a concealer brush, and I just have it flattened out, and I'm just lightly going in with some concealer under my brow and then going with it flat this way, because just then I used the sharp point, and now I'm just using the flat part and kind of just carving it out. So I'm going to do that for both eyebrows, top and bottom, and I'm going to connect them. And right now, since I'm on the top, I'm kind of using the flat part and this angled part right here. So when I carve my brows, I don't go in on the front part. I actually do just a box, but I do take my beauty blender and just lightly blend over that once this concealer is blended out. So I tried being a brush girly. It didn't work. It does. Oh, my seahorse is upside down. There we go. It works sometimes for me if I'm wearing light makeup, but when I'm wearing medium to full coverage, I just cannot do it. So I'm just taking just a dry beauty blender and I'm gonna blend this all out, but I'm not gonna go in the front square parts yet. Okay, now this is all blended out. Now I'm just gonna lightly tap on the front square parts to get rid of that harsh line and kind of blend the brows in. Alright, since this isn't a full glam, I'm not going to put on foundation, but But if you were to put on foundation, put it on now. So next is bronzer and blush. You can use like contour too, but I prefer bronzer. So I'm just going with this e.l.f. Camo Liquid Bronzer and Contour. So I guess it's kind of like a contour in the shade Light. And I'm going to put 2 dots on each, like under my cheekbone. So this is my cheekbone, and then I'm going to put it right here. And 4 dots on my forehead. And I'm going to blend that out with the Real Techniques brush number 200. When you're blending your bronzer or contour, make sure you blend up, and it's okay if you put a little tiny bit on your cheek because we're going to put blush after, but try not to like drag it down this way towards like your smile lines, but you definitely can drag it down to your jawline. Alright, we look like an Oompa Loompa right now, but that's okay because we're going to put more concealer on later. So next I'm going to go in with the Milk Makeup, I don't know what this is. I think it's like, oh, the Jelly Tint in the shade Fizz. I really, really like this stuff, so I'm just going to put some on my high cheekbone, and right away I'm going to blend it out because it is a stain. And I'm making sure not to put too much because once your makeup starts coming off, this stuff does not. So it just makes you look really blushed. I'm actually going to keep this out because we're going to use this on our lips later. Now it is time for more concealer, and I used 3 different concealers. So first I used the Revolution IRL Filter Finish Soft Matte Concealer in the shade C2. Then I used the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer in the shade Fair Rose. And then my Huda Beauty concealer, I forgot to say the shade first, so it's in the shade Meringue 2.1N. So I'm first going to put my Huda Beauty concealer in like the middle of my eye, and then a little bit on my forehead again, some on my smile line area, and then a little bit on my chin. Next I'm going to take my e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer and just put this on the very inner corner of my eye. And I got this a brighter shade than my other concealers, so it really, really brightens the inner corner of my eye. And then this Revolution concealer I'm going to put on the outer corners of my eye because it's a little bit darker than the 2 other concealers. Now I'm going to let my under eyes dry a little tiny bit, so I'm just going to blend out the rest of my face. And when you're blending out your concealer, don't be afraid to kind of blend it out almost everywhere on your face. Like, kind of treat this like a foundation. So now I'm going to blend out my under eyes, but I'm not going to touch the e.l.f. Camo Concealer until this is kind of blended out a little bit. Okay, now all of our cream and liquid products are on, so I'm going to put some setting spray on. This is the NYX The Face Glue Setting Spray, and you gotta make sure you shake it really well because there's stuff that settles in the bottom. I'm gonna go pretty far away from my face and do a few sprays. Sorry, I stopped talking, I just don't want this in my mouth. And we're gonna let that dry. Once this is almost dry, you can also kind of like pat it in with a beauty blender. So I'm going to use this Essence Flawless Skin Trio Loose Setting Powder in the translucent shade. However, I really suggest, sorry, my makeup brush just dropped. I really suggest the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Powder. This stuff is literal gold. It is so amazing. I only have like a little tiny bit left. Not enough to like set my whole face, I don't think. So I'm just gonna save it for another day when I do like lighter makeup. But this is in the shade Pound Cake. This stuff is amazing. I very much suggest that way over this one. I don't know if I really suggest this one. So I'm just going to put a little bit out on my desk. Actually, not a little bit. Quite a bit out on my desk. And my desk is clean, don't worry. And I'm going to take a powder puff, put some on, pat it on the back of my hand. Make sure my creases are blended under my eyes, which they are not. Oh my goodness. Just try and blend it out as much as you can, and then go right in with your loose setting powder, and I set my entire face. And also, sometimes I don't tap my powder puff on the back of my hand. Sometimes I just go right in to my face. My entire face is set now. So next I'm going to go in with the Too Faced bronzer in the shade Milk Chocolate. And I'm just using this very old Sephora brush again. And I'm going to put some where I put the e.l.f. bronzer / contour, except I'm going to put some on my nose too. So I'm just going to pinch the brush like this and go up and down on my nose. I'm going to put a little tiny bit on my jawline too. I also forgot to mention, but these powder puffs are from like Shein, I think. So next for blush, I'm going to use this NYX Buttermelt blush in the shade My Butter Half. And again with the old Sephora brush, and this stuff is really pigmented, so I'm going to tap in like this and then tap it and kind of brush it on the top. And then I'm going to lightly go in on like the very tips of my cheekbone and the tip of my nose. And I bring it down like a little bit to around right here. Now it is time for highlighter. So I'm going to use the Tarte Maracuja Juicy Glow. I'm not sure what this is. I think it's just like a highlighter clicker pen thing. I'm going to put some on my Cupid's bow, the tip of my nose, and I'm just blending this out with my finger, the bridge of my nose, and then my inner corners. For eyeshadow, this is very optional, but I'm going to put some on, so I'm going to use my Icy Nude Huda Beauty palette. This is my favorite eyeshadow palette ever. And I'm just going to go in with a random old Sephora brush, and I'm going to use shade High Life, and I'm going to put that all over my eyelid. Next, I'm going to go in with shade Faux Fur. I'm going to put that on the outer corners and kind of like blend it in just on like the very outside. I know this looks really patchy, just give me a minute. Okay, this eye is so much better, so I'm just going to take my finger and pick up some pigment because I don't want it to be too dark. And I'm just going to blend it in a little bit under my eye too. Next, I'm going to go in with shade Cold Plunge and just put that on the inner corners of my eye. And also, if you see me like kind of blend it out here, I'm just doing that to try and lighten up the rest of my eyeshadow. So next is lashes, and I would usually use lash clusters, but today I'm just going to use some fake lashes. These are by Beauty Creations. It's called the No Simpin Lash Duo, and I'm going to use the Player Alert ones. And I don't have any lash glue right now, so I'm going to have to put these on with Lash Bond. But again, I would usually do lash clusters, but I'm going to put those on tomorrow morning instead. Before you put on fake lashes, make sure that you put some mascara on. I'm going to do my top and bottom lashes just using this L'Oreal Panorama Mascara in the shade Black. Also, I do not suggest putting on fake lashes with Lash Bond, but just like I said, I don't have any lash glue right now, so I just have to make do. I put around 2 coats on my top and my bottom lashes. Lashes are on, so last step is lips. I'm just using some makeup remover and a Q-tip to take off the makeup from my lips. And then I'm going to put some Milk Jelly Tint all over my lips and then some Dior lip oil. So I'm just going to take this and put it on my lips. And then on top, I'm just going to take my Dior lip oil in the shade 015, so Cherry. It's pretty cloudy though because I have used this on top of other lip combos. And then that is it for the everyday makeup look tutorial routine thing. Before I forget to say, you can spray setting spray at the end of your makeup. Just use whatever setting spray you want to. You can use like the one you used before or a different one. But I'm just not going to because I have my lashes on. But that's going to be it for today's video. So make sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications so you get notified every single time I post. Like, comment, and share, and have an amazing day. Bye. Thank you.